High culture in crisis. Coronavirus restrictions are forcing the entertainment industry to get creative. Some are taking performances to the open air, reinterpreting operettas with a pandemic twist. Socially distancing on stage and letting us laugh at our new reality. Or here in Mexico, rock fans can still enjoy their favorite jams as long as they do it from the comfort of their own cars. And in Serbia, these seats are empty by design at this jazz festival. It's streaming live online, a new digital solution for live music in the era of COVID-19. So is this new reality just as entertaining? Concert halls and stadiums are reopening for performances and festivals in some countries, but not for everyone at once, and there are lots of new rules to follow. The entertainment industry is desperate to get business going again. Many musicians aren't covered by government schemes to support freelancers and have had no other source of income during lockdown. The aid that has trickled down to some performers is for a limited time only, and the crisis is open-ended. Björn from ABBA says expect less extravagant shows in a post-coronavirus world.
A concert hall packed with cheering fans singing along. It's what German rapper Mo Torres had been waiting for since the start of the corona pandemic. After Germany introduced its lockdown measures, which included a ban on all large-scale events, Mo Torres, real name Moritz Heft, found himself stuck in the studio.
Playing live for a musician is essential. It really fulfills you. I can play a song in the studio for myself. It's nice. I enjoy it and can really express my feelings. But to perform in front of a crowd and get that connection, that's what we're making music for.
This concert at Cologne's Lanxess Arena is his first major performance in half a year. The venue can hold up to 20,000 people. The lockdown brought concert performances around Germany to a screeching halt. But the organizers say they have new safety regulations, which should allow them to hold mass events during the pandemic. It includes strict hygiene rules and the installation of special plexiglass cubes.
We need to maintain 1.5 meters of distance between the cubes at all time and between every 4 seats in the lower tiers. With these safety regulations, we can't let in more than 2,400 guests.
To avoid crowds bunching up around the doors, event organizers opened 5 entrances. Visitors also had to leave their contact information, so health officials can better trace the infection chain in case there is an outbreak. But there was little sign of worry among music fans waiting to get in.
We only go to events where we can socially distance and wouldn't go to one if that's not possible. Other than that, we don't really worry. We go to concerts and are really glad that we can do it again because of these cube concerts. I'm not worried about it. As long as you protect yourself, everything's okay. We go to a lot of concerts here, especially at this arena, because I have friends that work here. It was really strange not being able to come here for half a year. Live music is something different than listening to music on the internet or on a CD. I'm really looking forward to it.
For many of them, it's their first big concert since the beginning of the pandemic. From the moment they enter the arena until they find their seat, visitors have to wear protective masks, and only there, at last, they can take them off to sing along to their favorite artist. Let's see how it's arranged. With the show underway, the audience can't forget about the pandemic, for a while at least, watching their favorite performer on stage, dancing and singing, all without a mask. Looking around, it's hard to ignore the empty space between the seats and the strange aquarium-like cubes. But Moritz Heft doesn't mind the new setup.
You could see that they were sitting a little bit further away from one another, but that didn't dampen the mood. There may have only been around 1,000 people there, but those 1,000 people were having a really good time. At least I hope they were. My feeling was that it was good, that it was really amazing.
But not all artists are happy with what the Lanxess Arena has come up with. Many are waiting it out until they can play in front of the full house again. Still, concert organizers in other German cities have already shown interest in the concept.
That's the big question. When are we going to get a full house again? John Smith is president of the International Federation of Musicians. John, what do you think of some of the solutions event organisers are coming up with?
Well, they've been quite creative and quite inventive at the moment, particularly individual bands, using digital technology, streaming their performances, asking for subscriptions or even donations, keeping in touch with their fans, selling their merchandise. But this is all, in financial terms, really quite low level. To get the industry kick-started again, we've got to get audiences into venues, and that's going to be the problem, particularly with the small venues.
Is that the solution? Because I know a lot of musicians have been drawing much bigger crowds online. We're not just talking about thousands, but millions for one digital concert, and surely that's going to bring in funds.
It should do, yeah, but it's going to be a limited number of bands that are going to have that capacity and fan base to do that. And if we're going to get the grassroots of the industry working as well as the mega stars, then we need to actually have some solution across the board. So I think we will get live music and we will get fans listening to their bands, but are we going to actually force it into a limited repertoire, limited selection of music for those fans?
I guess the thing is, I've enjoyed many different orchestras online during this crisis, but you're not there in person, are you?
No, that's right. And a number of orchestras are taking initiatives to actually put concerts online, but you don't get that same atmosphere, do you? There's something about the buzz of live performance and being there and kind of interacting in a way with the performers. And the performers like it too. They like to see the audience reaction and hear the audience reaction. And so we've got that element missing. And when
it comes to, sorry, we're just watching some live digital performances there right now. I wanted to talk to you about the performers. How are musicians coping during this crisis?
They've been coping remarkably well. Most of them have lost their whole incomes. They actually have been inventive, again, like I said before. They've been able to be creative. A lot of them are actually continuing with teaching online. And this is a very new phenomenon. And it's actually been quite successful for a number of people. So they're kind of getting strands of income through. A lot of them are self-employed, of course. Across the world, the vast majority of musicians are self-employed. And various governments have helped in different ways. But this help is limited, and it's going to run out. It can't go on forever. So we're looking now at when we can...
I was going to ask, with strands of income coming in and government aid, that government aid's not going to go on forever, is it? And this crisis could go on a lot longer. How much longer do you think it will be until we get a full house again?
Well, the predictions, and these are optimistic predictions, are that we won't be getting back to anything like normal until the early next year. And I'm a little bit skeptical about that. I think we'll have to see. I think we've also got to get the audiences confident. The audiences have got to go to the venues. They've got to use public transport. They've got to be prepared to maybe sit, even if it's social distancing of 1 meter between each other. That can be uncomfortable for a long while. Also, are they going to sit in masks for the whole gig? You know, all of these things haven't been sorted out yet. But, I mean, I think it's going to be a number of months yet. And certainly I think the winter months are going to be very difficult for a lot of performing artists and musicians.
It doesn't sound good. John Smith, president of the International Federation of Musicians, thanks for chiming in. Bye-bye. Now it's your chance to ask the questions. Here's our science correspondent Derek Williams on all things corona.
Could SARS-CoV-2 also grow less deadly?
Yes, it could, and there's hope that it will. Viruses evolve just like we do, but with them it can happen at a much faster rate because new generations aren't produced decades apart. In the midst of a raging infection, they come within days or even hours. But within that, for us, massively accelerated time frame, they're also subject to evolutionary pressure known as selection. You've heard of survival of the fittest. That's Darwin 101. But what actually makes one virus fitter than another? Seen from this perspective in our current situation, it isn't really to grow more lethal, because, at least in theory, growing more deadly would force us to take even more drastic measures to protect ourselves, eventually denying the virus the opportunity to spread easily and opportunistically to the unwary. In theory, at least, it makes more sense for a virus to actually cause less deadly symptoms in its host over time, but grow more contagious, ensuring that it's spread as widely as possible. It's thought that the 4 coronaviruses that cause cold-like symptoms possibly started out as much more deadly versions of themselves, but eventually adapted in this way to be highly contagious but fairly harmless, rather than less contagious and more deadly. Of course, that process takes time, even in virus terms. But I've heard experts speculate that if we don't develop a vaccine, we might start to see changes like that within a decade or so. But of course, it's all pure speculation.
And after 2 months of lockdown, these next beaches in the south of France are packed with families of flamingos. It's been a record year for the flamingo babies in the Camargue wetlands. Scientists are pointing to the strict French lockdown as a reason. 12,000 chicks were counted this year on this reserve alone, a big increase from the usual 1,000.